Okay, so welcome to the first demonstration here of our installation and configuration of a DHCP server. So for DHCP server, we use this to distribute IP addresses in our network. So we use this to assign the IP addresses, and you can configure the MAC IP addresses as well. So let me just open up my VMware platform here for this. It's going to be a basic installation, and we will have a pretty simple environment here where we're essentially just utilizing one server and one client. So for our Windows Server Manager here, it loads this dashboard. Server Manager is a centralized dashboard where you can install all the services that you want to run in your server. We are going to move forward here with the DHCP server. So I will need to add a roles and features here. It's going to bring up the wizard for me. We'll go ahead and hit next to start here. We are doing a role-based or feature-based installation. It's going to show you select a server from your server pool. We have just currently the one server with our static IP that we have already assigned for the environment that we have. Right next. And so we are going to be selecting DHCP server installation. It's just going to add the features that are required for the installation here. We'll go to next. We're just going to keep all the default settings here. Just a few things to know. We'll hit next. And then just the confirmation here, and we will install. This takes a little bit of time here, so I am going to just pause the video real shortly here so we're not going too high on the time here. Okay, and we are back. So when you complete the installation, you do have to authorize your DHCP server to commit to the network and assign the IP addresses to all of your users. So we will complete the DHCP configuration here. So once you add, you just have to commit the DHCP server for this feature. So we will select complete configuration. Quick description here just tells you it's going to create the following groups, administrators, users here. We will commit. And then we are done. And we'll hit close. And close. Now we're back on here. I'm just going to refresh this dashboard a couple of times here. Rid of all these here. But we can see now on our dashboard that we do have the DHCP role installed. So that is verified. Just refresh one more time. It does show DHCP is valid. So now you can start issuing IP addresses. But first, you need to configure the DHCP scope for our Windows Client 10 to get the IPs from the DHCP server. So for that portion here, I'm going to quickly just go to Tools. We'll select our DHCP here. It's going to bring up our window. Let me just open this up a bit so we can get a better view. Now we will select our server 2016A. And for the drop-down menu, it does give you two separate options, essentially based on what your availability is or what you need as far as the IP addresses. You can choose which IP pool you'd like to go with, IPv4, IPv6. For this demonstration, we'll be doing IPv4. So I will right-click, and then we are going to select New Scope here. And it's going to bring up the New Scope wizard. We'll hit Next to start here. So it will ask you for a scope name and description. For the sake of this one here, we will just do scope for project 1 demonstration testing. And description, this is my testing scope for project. Select next. Now it's going to ask you for your IP address range. So for this portion, we will not include the IP addresses that we have already assigned to our servers. For this demonstration, I'm just going to go with the 10.0.0.50, and we'll go to 10.0.0.150. And it gives you the length and subnet mask here. We'll hit next. exclusion and delays. So for this portion here, we are essentially making a list of IP address that you do not want to issue or assign in your network. So this is a pool of IP addresses that you might want to use later or assign to, say, like a different server. So for my exclusion list, I'm just going to add 10.0.0.50 to 10.0.0. We'll go to 55. So just a address range there of 5 IP addresses. Add, we can go ahead and next. This is the least duration. So by default, it just goes to 8 days. We'll just keep the default setting here. That's fine. We are going to configure these options now. It gives you the options to do it later, but we're doing for the sake of demonstration right now. Now our router and default gateway. For this portion here, this is going to be based on our project environment. Our default gateway is 10.1.1.1. We're going to add next. For domain name and DNS services. So because we have a pretty simple environment here, we don't have any kind of like Active Directory or DNS server installed. We are just going to leave all this area blank and proceed. And then same thing with the Windows Server portion here. So this is WinServer is the older version of the name resolution server. We don't need to worry about that for this demonstration. We'll hit next. And we're going to activate the scope now. And finish. And so now we can see on our IPv4 that our scope has been created here. And this is going to bring, a drop-down menu options here. Your address pool, leases, reservations, options, policies. Going into the address pool portion, we can now see our starting and ending IP addresses from 50 to 150, as well as our excluded IP address distribution, which is the 50 to 55. The next portion here is the address leases. Just going to refresh. We have our MAC reservations here as well. These are essentially just all of the information that we have for our IP scope. And so this is for, everyone who's received an IP address from you in your network. So reservation is a MAC-based reservation where you bind a specific IP address to a specific MAC address. We'll do that later or in just a moment here. So now we're going to see how to assign an IP address to a Windows machine. So I will go to my Windows machine. And I'm just going to go ahead and start this up now. And for this portion, real quickly, I'm just going to run a command. And we'll check the IP. By default, we have this static IP of the 10.0.0.3. We are going to go ahead and change that so that it starts receiving the IP addresses from our DHCP. So for that portion, go to configure our IPv4 properties. And so change it from that to obtain IP address automatically. I'm going to select OK. Close that here. Just clear my screen, and then we will try ipconfig. And now we can see that we're getting the new address from our pool, our scope pool. So this is the 10.0.0.57 now. So that looks good. So now we can just verify this on our server. Refresh. And so now here we can see our client 10A added to our as a 10.0.0.57. And then this 0.56 is basically the host laptop that I'm working off of right now. So this is how you can assign IPs to any device in your network using the DHCP server. So with Mac reservation, like I mentioned before, that is a concept where you bind a specific IP address with your MAC address. So whenever that MAC address sends a request to your network, the DHCP server assigns the IP according to the MAC address. They're binded together. So for reservations, we need two things. We need the MAC address and the IP that you want to assign to. So whenever the MAC sends a request, it always gets the same IP address. So I'm going to come over to my client 10A machine, and we are going to verify the MAC address. Yeah, MAC. So this is our MAC address here. Let me just copy that. Come back to our server 2016 and start a new reservation here. So for the reservation, I'm going to go ahead and just name this manager laptop for the sake of the demonstration, and IP address that we'll assign, we'll go with 10.0.0.85. Paste our MAC address. We can leave the description empty, and border type will leave as both. So we'll add this and close. And now we can see our manager laptop here added on the reservations, MAC reservations. That is good. We'll go to our address leases, and we'll see that there. But you can see that the reservation right now shows as inactive. So now what we will do, we'll go back to our client 10A machine to receive this new IP address from the DHCP server. And so we need to essentially remove the old IP address that we were receiving from our DHCP to get the new MAC reservation IP address. So for that portion there, we will release the IP. So and then now we will renew. And for this portion here, we will get the new MAC reservation IP from the DHCP server. And then as soon as that renews or refreshes, we will check our DHCP to show that we have the active lease. And there we go, 10.0.0.85, success. We'll go back to the server 2016 here, shows as inactive. Let me refresh. Now we have the reservation active. So that is essentially the end of our demonstration here for the DHCP server installation and configuration, where we made the IP scope and also did the MAC reservation with our client 10A machine. Thank you so much.